Pyke's passive is Gift of the Drowned Ones. Pyke can't gain additional max health outside of levels, gaining attack damage instead. Pyke also stores a percentage of his damage taken as grey health. While Pyke is unseen by his enemies, he'll consume his grey health to heal for the same amount. Pyke's Q is Bone Skewer. You can tap it for a short range, single target slow, or hold it, gaining extra range while slowing Pyke himself. Releasing the ability, Pyke throws his harpoon, skewering the first enemy hit and pulling them closer to him, alongside slowing them. Pyke's W is Ghost Water Dive. Pyke gains camouflage and bonus decaying movement speed. That's it, that's the entire... Pyke's E is Phantom Undertow. Pyke dashes, leaving behind a water clone. After a delay, the water clone gets scared and returns to Pyke, stunning enemies it passes through and damaging enemy champions too. Pyke's ultimate is Death from Below. Pyke leaps into the air, dealing damage to enemy champions in an X-shaped area after a delay, whilst executing those who are under a certain health threshold. If the ability hits an enemy champion or one dies while inside the X, Pyke blinks to the middle of the X. Death from Below will also be able to be recast within 20 seconds if an enemy dies by the ability or within the indicator. Every time Death from Below executes an enemy champion, Pyke and his most recent assisting teammate will receive one Your Cut. Additionally, each champion that dies within the X by an ally grants Pyke 2 Your Cuts. Your Cut is an item unique to Pyke that can be used to gain 100 to 300 gold based on the enemy's kill bounty, increased by 100 for First Blood, meaning that you can technically get 400 if somehow there isn't a First Blood before you hit 6. Also, I forgot to mention, but apparently you get bonus movement speed in the river. What the fuck? As of patch 10.23, Pyke's build has seen significant changes due to a majority of his items being removed or reworked. Nonetheless, I'll try to give you as accurate of an item guide as I possibly can. For your first item, you'll still want to be building Umbral Glaive, although an argument could be made for rushing the new Yomu Purple Sword. Whichever you do end up going with, make sure to pick up the other as your second item too. For your third item, you've got a lot of choices. You could go with X-Men's Wolverine, Feather Dagger, Feather Blade, Feather Sword, or you could get a GA if the enemy team has a lot of burst. As for your last item, I'm just going to throw up an item pool. These new items are all really situational, so it's hard to pick just one out. Ow, fuck. Also, for all you guys watching from the past, it's a small demographic, but it's there. Here's a quick little build I threw together. Pyke's lead gameplay designer was Riot Endless Pillows, whose other work consists of Zaya and Rakan, Yone, Mordekaiser's rework, and Yumi. He also, according to the wiki, worked on Dragon Age and Anthem, which is interesting. Now, I really don't have much to go off of here. Pyke was released without one of those Champion Insights posts, so all the official info I really have is this short snippet from a Champion roadmap. The rest of the info here will be based off of these two videos that I found. So, as for this first video, I'm not entirely sure what the abilities actually do, since I could only find a description of the ulti and passive, but here's my best guess. His passive is that after landing 4 damaging abilities, basic attacks, or seemingly damaging item and rune effects, because Comet applied it for some reason, on a champion, you can right-click them to teleport a small distance to them and flip them behind you, stunning or suppressing them for like 1.5 seconds or something. His Q is a skill shot that damages the first enemy hit and slows them. It also has 2 charges. For his W, Pyke is a secondary resource bar that regens at like 5 a second up to a cap of 100. He can activate his W to gain true invisibility. True invisibility, and maybe some movement speed too, I can't really tell. His resource bar does deplenish by 50 for each second the ability is active though, giving an effective uptime of 2 seconds when your bar is full. His E is kind of the same as now it looks like. It leaves behind a Talon Dagger, which is just a placeholder water clone, but there's no footage of it actually landing. And his R is just a large AoE spike that damages and slows all enemies hit. This version of Pyke's kit seems super utility oriented, with it mostly focused around his passive, and seems much more like a traditional support than an assassin. It also doesn't really look that fun. I can understand why they scrapped a lot of it. So this next video is super hectic and I can't really tell what any of his abilities do aside from his ulti. What I can make out is that his W bar now has a 160 cap and there does seem to be some way to regenerate it. I can't really tell how though. His E also seems to just be a dash. The water clone's just gone for some reason. I can't tell if I'm missing something or what. From what I can make out, his Q seems to be about the same, but it's lost a charge. And the passive is just anyone's guess, I have no idea what it does. The most interesting part of this clip though is definitely the ultimate. On the initial cast, Pyke puts down a marker beneath him, he can then reactivate the ability to jump in a direction, bringing an enemy back to the marker with them if it lands. This is really cool, it's sort of like Yone's E, which is actually not that surprising. In the same Reddit thread that this was mentioned in, Endless Pillows also said, "There were spells and stuff that were cooler, but we might want to use them on future champions. Want to keep that stuff secret." Also from that same Reddit thread, he said that Pyke at one point had a Z ulti on a basic ability that worked off your team's damage. So basically Yone's most interesting ability wasn't even originally Yone's, which is kind of sad. Yone has 3 abilities that are kind of just ripped from other champions. Almost makes you feel bad for the guy. Almost. Pyke was released on patch 8.11, which also happens to be the same patch as the infamous crit item rework where they sadly removed ADC from the game. Rest in peace, it was a fun time. He was also hotfix buffed in the exact same patch, which was something of a trend at the time, as Zoe, Kai'Sa, Sylas, Yuumi and Pyke were all hotfix buffed on their release patch. Thank God they don't do that anymore, right? In patch 8.22, he got some major changes on nearly all of his spells, since he was primarily building tank items at the time because his passive wasn't enough of a deterrence. His passive's maximum grey health changed to a flat 80 plus 800% of his bonus AD, from just a percentage of his max health increased by his bonus AD. His W gained a percent lethality scaling, replacing its old percent bonus AD scaling, and also had its movement speed's level scaling completely removed, alongside cutting its base number down from 60% to 40%. His E gained a flat lethality scaling, but also lost its stun's level scaling too, which is why we now have these thrilling level up decisions to make nowadays. Do I want 0.5 less cooldown or 30 extra damage on exactly champions? His ulti also gained its lethality scaling here, just to be absolutely certain that no one builds tank on him ever again. In patch 9.13, Pyke's Q lost its old AoE damage, morphing it into what it is nowadays. His E was also made to only affect champions, meaning you wouldn't even get a stun on minions and monsters. This was, however, semi-reverted in the next patch, 9.14, where his E was changed to stun non-champions but not do any damage. In this patch, his ultimate was also completely changed, making it do 50% reduced damage to targets who aren't executed, but giving him an extra stack of your card when an ally kills an enemy in the X, and also giving him a stack of your card just for executing someone, meaning he gets 300 extra gold per ulti kill, regardless of how it happens. However, these two patches, 9.13 and 9.14 that is, are some of the worst changes to a champion I've ever seen in League, in my opinion of course. They completely removed a lot of creativity that you could have with the champion, locking him into being even more of an ult bot than he already was, and also totally failed at what they were trying to do with it anyways, since they were supposedly trying to nerf solo lane Pyke, which definitely hasn't been super overpowered for like this entire season. Pyke has had an extremely negative public reception since his launch, ranking as the most frustrating champion to play against in NA back in 2019. Partially due to this, he's also consistently been one of the most banned champions in the game, even in a season where he's been pretty terrible, at least compared to what he was in seasons 8 and 9. Pyke has also had his fair share of controversies too, between the whole mask debacle and him being nerfed every time he pops up in a lane that isn't support. However, the most interesting of them, in my opinion, is the situation surrounding his project skin, as it details something that's much bigger than the champion himself. Riot's, let's say, iffy standards for skins. As you probably know, the current purchasable skin tiers are Standard, Epic, Legendary, and Ultimate, each skin tier coming with the right standard for what is expected from a skin of that tier. The Legendary tier has been previously described as a complete reimagining of the champion from the ground up, with total and complete immersion in the fantasy. I say previously because for some reason the Riot support article where this was outlined has been completely removed from their website, seemingly without a replacement too. Back in 2019, when Project Pyke was released, there were cries that the skin wasn't living up to the price tag, as it had mostly reused or just slightly altered animations, which goes entirely against the Legendary tier's standards. In a recent Riot dev post, they stated that newer champions have a higher number of animations for them to change, increasing the work needed to make a Legendary skin for them, and that in future we can expect Legendary skins to be more about the cool factor and less about following a set of rules. With this in mind, I'm thinking the next Legendary skin could be for Lee Sin, and it could be themed around, like, dragons, but like a lightning dragon, a thunder dragon, a storm dragon, and oh god, this isn't what I wanted at all. What the fuck is happening? Why do I smell burnt toast?